Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Tech Tuesday. I'm a little fuzzy here. I almost said Foresight TV, but welcome to Tech Tuesday. I'm talking to my good friend Simon. We've actually never met in person because he's a little bit further away. But before we get started in our conversation about LinkedIn and AI and all things wonderful, this. Hey guys, Steve Moran here. Simon, welcome. Let's start talking a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So, as you already said, my name is Simon, and I am, you could say, a LinkedIn specialist. So a big part of what I do is help people find their way on LinkedIn. Usually it's B2B. So think a typical client would be business coach. We help train the assistant of the business coach to increase the footprint on LinkedIn. And we do this with, you have guessed it, AI.
Good. Well, we're going to get into this AI thing in a little bit, but I want to start. First off, you've got kind of a funny accent. Where are you joining us from today?
Originally, I'm from Germany, but I spent a lot of time in the UK, in the US, and now I'm in South Africa, Cape Town. So we have a slight time difference. I think it's about 9 hours or something.
Oh man, I feel bad. Well, I guess it's not too bad. That puts it like
fine.
at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening for you.
It's half past 8.
Okay, so I got you. I guess that's a little past working hours, but it's not like it's totally midnight fine. Or something. So
I have the honor to be on a call with you. That's worth it.
That's right. So let's talk a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about LinkedIn. I think that it is, as you know, I mean, the way we met was I found you, I guess, or more likely I found you than you found me on LinkedIn. I was just looking at LinkedIn influencers. Why are you such a big fan of LinkedIn? What can it do for people?
Well, I think it's a great platform to build relationships. And if you think B2B, long sales cycle, many high price point products or services that you want to sell, you cannot just send a cold email because you probably hit the person at the wrong moment in time. So LinkedIn is a great way to build a relationship without necessarily wanting to sell something now. And if you think about LinkedIn in comparison to other social media platforms, the big difference is on LinkedIn, you can see who are the other people because they are showing up with their real name and the professional designation, the industry. So unlike Facebook or Twitter, you know exactly whether the person you're dealing with is the right person. And that makes it like completely different to all the other social media platforms. And the other thing is you can follow people. The algorithm on TikTok is designed to promote content based on like how relevant it is to individuals, but it's not as relevant who that person is that you're following. And on LinkedIn, it's very much focused on the individual. So if I like to listen into what you have to say, Steve, I can follow you, and that's the main driver for my feed.
So I'm just making a note here because I want to ask you about something.
Sure.
And I don't want to forget. So when you look at people's LinkedIn profiles, are there big things that you see that people should be doing? What are the big things people need to think about? What are they doing wrong? And what can they do, sort of easy steps to make their profile better?
Great question. So I think one of the big things is LinkedIn has a background in, it started as a CV platform. And what you see a lot of people do nowadays still is that they treat it as a place to present their resume. And that is sort of like not kind of how it works nowadays anymore, because in the end, it's a marketing platform. And ideally, what you want to do is to talk about the pain points and the problems of your ideal reader. So it's not, if you think the about section CV style, most people say, that's the worst thing, talking about themselves in the third person, like I don't know, Simon is a good LinkedIn influencer, so you don't want to do that. What you want to do is to say, hey, you have a problem with LinkedIn not getting enough reach, I can help. So that is the one big thing that I see still a lot of people not doing right. It's first of yeah, it's not a CV platform. It's all about the problems that you can help solve.
Okay, so I'm one of the questions that I have, and this is an area that I actually struggle with a little bit, is that sort of as you look at me and my organization, I have two primary presences on LinkedIn. There's me personally,
Mm.
and I'm coming up on 29,000 followers, which I'm quite proud of. And I think I've got the highest number of anybody in our particular industry niche. I'm probably going to say that, and somebody's going to come back and tell me I'm not. That's something to shoot for. But then we have a company page. And I have got about 15,000, a little over 15,000 followers on the company page. But I find that I've got so much more traction on my personal page. I've got I've got one post up right now that is actually links to an article on my website that's got over 5,000 impressions. I've got a poll going right now that's got 200 plus responses, and it'll probably go over 5,000. I think it's close to 4,000 impressions right now. So talk to me about the importance of those two relatively, the relativity of those two, and maybe if you have any thoughts on how I can make my company page more dynamic.
Yeah, I mean that's a topic that comes up a lot, and as always, I mean there's no right or wrong. I always like to point to Microsoft. So you have the official Microsoft page, and then you have the profile of I don't know how to pronounce his name, Satya Nadella, the CEO. And if you compare the number of followers that he has compared to the official company page, and you would think Microsoft, they do have a marketing budget. It's not like they're running on a shoestring, that they should be able to like pull something off on the company page. I don't have the numbers in my head, but definitely Satya has like double, triple, 4 times the number of followers, and so much more is happening on his profile. And I think it comes down to a very a basic thing. I mean, as humans, we want to connect with humans. I want to see your face. I want to see your eyes to really know, can I trust that person? It's kind of hard to do it with a company page, which does mean it cannot be done. So there are numerous pages run as a company page that have millions of followers, but just like a bit harder. And I think it's a great opportunity to connect with people as a person. So why not just use your personal profile?
Okay, yeah, I find that we think the company page is important, and the other thing, but clearly the primary connection is on my page, and I've actually got 2 of my team members who have become a lot more active on their personal pages. And I try to reshare that. Rachel Hill, who runs our podcast and does our sort of leads our social media and creative efforts, and then Leanne, who kind of makes everything happen in the background. And it's really fun because they get really good traction. What kind of let's talk about posting. I think that people really struggle with a couple of things. What do I post? And how often do I post?
Well, as always, there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, it's sort of like the other day I had Matt Welly. He's the CEO of a Dutch unicorn company. They've just raised 110 million. He has 1,200 employees in 20 countries. He's a CEO who is very present on LinkedIn. He posts daily. It was an amazing chat, because usually what I hear with CEOs is like, I don't have time for LinkedIn. I don't have time for marketing. And so we have to like whip them to, no, you have to do this. It's good for you. He's like the complete opposite. He embraced LinkedIn because he understood it's an amazing tool to connect with your stakeholders. So in his case, he has 1,200 employees. The best way for him to talk to all of them on a daily basis, but also the investors, partners of the company. So he understands that LinkedIn is an amazing tool to connect with all of your stakeholders on a daily basis. And so what he does basically is a diary. So he just gives a daily update of what's happening, product updates, like company culture, which is great for his HR team because they don't have a problem hiring people because everybody sees exactly what Muse, that's the name of the company, what the company is like. So everybody that applies to the company already knows what they are getting themselves into. So what to post, I mean, just do diary style what's happening in your life. And I completely understand that it's sort of uncomfortable because you're getting naked with what's happening in the company. But I think that's the easiest way to build a public narrative of your company, a public brand of what you do, by just sharing what you do. And that I find is the easiest way to come up with stuff. Because I mean, hey, Steve, there's so much happening in your company every day. Conversation that you have with business partners, trends in your industry, that you have very clear thoughts about that. Why hold back? Why not share that? Because if you don't share what you think about trends in the industry and what's happening, people have no clue what you stand for. And in the end, we buy from people that we understand because we understand what their values are. And that's the best way to show them.
Man, I love this so much. And I will tell you that I'm actually living this right now. So, as many in my audience know, about 3 weeks ago, I moved my stepfather into a senior living community. And even though I think most people would call me an expert on senior living, it has been the last 3 or 4 weeks have been some of the hardest weeks of my life. Dealing with guilt. A lot of the guilt's not rational. I understand that. It's much more complex because he's not doing super well there. And that's not anybody's fault. It's just the condition of the dementia he's got. And so the article, the post that we did a few days ago, it was an excerpt from an article I wrote about it on our blog site that's well over 5,000 views. And it's just kind of me talking about how difficult and how I sat down one Friday morning and I just wanted to cry because it was so difficult and I was just overwhelmed by everything. And so I think that putting your emotion out there is so key.
Exactly, because it allows people to connect with you. They understand who you are. They see that you're human. And I mean, what do you want to connect with somebody who's always sort of like only celebrating successes, everything is going great, because it's. I mean, if you think about storytelling, we admire people more for trying something than for just achieving something. If you don't see the struggle, then it's completely meaningless. And these experiences you just described, it's part of life and it's what we have to go through. And if we don't show that, we become very hard to relate to because we are just like these artificial beings on LinkedIn. So I think it's totally it's the right thing to do this, to share what's happening, so people understand who you are and also what you're going through.
Yeah. So there's a couple, I want to talk a little specifically about a couple of other kinds of posts. Probably 18 or so months ago, doing carousels was kind of all the rage. You've done a lot of carousels. We've done a few. And today, the place I'm actually having, besides sort of these texts, here's what's going on in my life, but this diary thing is so good. I'm going to actually write an article about that. But I'm having tremendous success with polls. And can you talk about maybe both polls and carousels, and are there other things that we should be looking at?
Absolutely. So just today I did a post on videos because everybody's like, you gotta do videos next big thing on LinkedIn. And yes, I mean it's LinkedIn is there are sort of like algorithmic preferences that are enhanced by LinkedIn because they wanted to like push certain things. So like I think 2 years back, polls were like the big thing, and everybody was like polling about everything under the sun, starting with like what the cat should eat for dinner and like crazy stuff. So in the end, it's you got to pick something that works for you. And with video, just to make a great point here, video is nice, but if you compare video to text posts is very easy for us to make a decision. Is this post relevant? It takes us 1.7 seconds to read the headline and say yes, no. Excuse me. If you have a video, it takes you 3, 4, 5 seconds. You have to watch the video to make the same decision. Consequence for me is I don't watch videos because I don't want to spend 5 seconds to check out the video to see whether it's relevant to me. So these are dynamics that you see with different post formats. And so videos have their place. As Matt Wally, the CEO from Muse, pointed out on my post today, because he said like, hey, Simon, you sort of like take down videos. I think videos are great. And he made a great point because he said, well, if I do a product presentation or like a product update, that's a great way for me to show what is new. And I totally get his point. And in his case, he has a place for why he's doing a video. If we just run for a post format because it's something that LinkedIn pushes now, we completely lose our identity and our strategy just because LinkedIn gives me more reach with a poll. I'm doing a poll that's sort of like completely, I don't want to say spineless, but I mean, you got to have a style and a certain consistency what you do. And you see people who only do text posts. Justin Welch is a great example. I mean, how it does picture posts, but for the first 3 years or something, he only did text posts. And people get used to that. That's the way Justin does stuff. Others do only slideshows or only infographics. So the question really, to come to your question, is what is my style? What is the best way for me to communicate the things that I want to communicate? And then stick to that and sort of really develop that unique style within, be it videos or polls or slideshows or whatever it is. But sort of like really pick a strategy and stick to that and don't get sort of like swept away by what LinkedIn now gives you in terms of reach.
Well, I got to tell you, you're killing me right now because I spent 2 hours yesterday shooting videos, shorts. I can do these live streams all day long. I love doing them. They're very interactive. I really continue to struggle with me talking to the camera. And I know that at least for me, the only way to get better is to do it. And so, like I said, I went down to this river, and I did all these videos, mostly talking about our AI lab that we're doing, but a couple of other things. And now you're telling me I shouldn't do them. No, I know you're not really telling me that. So,
well, if you got something to show, then it's great. Then you can sort of like share the screen. Rand Fishkin is another guy that comes to mind, who does a lot of product updates with Spark Toro, his software. And then it makes perfect sense to do a video. But I can't think of other people who just film themselves walking in the park, talking to the camera. Some people like it. I am not a fan of that. And as I said, it's easier to just scan the headline and say yes, no, and then read the post.
Yeah, that's really terrific. Well, I do want to talk a little bit about the use of AI to generate content. I guess the first question is using AI a good idea, bad idea to do that?
I think it's a great idea because it
makes talk to me about
that. Makes things so much easier. But you have to know how to use AI. So I think there's like a big confusion out there of people who think like, okay, I suck at writing LinkedIn posts. Now I have LinkedIn, and now I have AI, ChatGPT, and everything's great. Sadly, it doesn't really work that way, because if I don't have a vision of what I want to convey with my posts and I can't guide the AI, then the AI is not be able to do a great job. So AI is fantastic if the writing agent, the bot, whatever you want to call it, the GPT, when it's been set up and primed on your identity, your brand, your IP, everything. So there are a couple of things you have to do for that. Then it's amazing. So I set up my own GPT on my phone. I have ChatGPT here. And all I do when writing a post is speak to ChatGPT. It's kind of a voice note. and I would say something like, "Hey, Chat, I want to write a post about the analogy between film script editing and LinkedIn post editing. And notice these three things." And then say A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3. And that's it. I sent the voice note and it writes me a post that is 95% good for me to publish, but it's highly calibrated to my posting style, to my topics, to my tonality, my style, because I trained the GPT. If I would just use a regular ChatGPT chat, it would give me a lot of crap that doesn't work. So to question, ChatGPT or AI is a great enhancer once you have clearly defined who you are, what you stand for, what people should see in you. Once you've nailed that and explained that to ChatGPT and maybe even showed it a couple of sample posts of what is good writing for you, then it can do wonders. But don't expect it to write if you haven't really trained it like a copywriter.
Yeah, I've got a document. I haven't done this yet, but I took about 20 of my articles and I put it into a single PDF that at some point in time I'm going to load into ChatGPT and then give it some content to write in my style. And I've talked to other people who've done that, who have had tremendous success with it. The only reason I haven't done it, frankly, is I like writing and I'm a really, really fast writer. And so for a lot of people, that content creation is a big burden. And for me, it's almost therapeutic. I think that that's great. I want to do a couple of short sort of commercial breaks here. The first thing I do is I want to talk about our Foresight AI Lab. Thank you, Jade. If you can pop that up. This week is the last week for the low. We had some pre-sale tickets we launched a long time ago when we were still sort of putting the details together. So the pre-sale tickets are available until the end of this week, and then they are gone. They're gone forever. And in addition to the lowest price already, if you use the code Insider, you get another 10% off. It will be an amazing event. Again, it's a lab. It's not a typical conference. So as I looked at conferences, what I wanted to do was to create.
What's happening? Tell me more.
When people left, when they walked away from it, they'd actually have a playbook of things they could do. They'd be talking to people who are using AI in senior living, who are going to talk about how they do it, so that you can piggyback off of what they've done. So I'm
real
really,
world
really
use cases that you present and how to actually implement it in your daily business operations.
Exactly right. So Simon, if we'll take that down now, what I'd like to actually do, Simon, I don't want to get too far down the road, is I'd actually like to have you talk a little bit about how you help people with their marketing, particularly on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So how do we help people? We help them in two ways. One is with LinkedIn. The other way is to generate content for LinkedIn faster, because LinkedIn content is key. Yes, you can send cold connection requests and do all sorts of things. But if you do not have content, you're falling short. And that's a big problem for a lot of people to get content. So what we do is basically help them set up a highly customized ChatGPT writing bot that they can use to generate their own content. And because content is not everything, we also help them to think around what are the right strategies that they should be following on LinkedIn. And that could be doing a monthly webinar where they invite the network, or it could be something like doing a podcast and promoting that on LinkedIn. Apologies. But the main thing is to build a highly customized GPT bot that speaks and writes like them, so they can cut down on the writing time to a few minutes and really engage on LinkedIn. And then we help them develop a strategy that works on LinkedIn.
Cool. And how many times a week should I be posting?
As always, there's no right or wrong answer. I know one guy who does one slideshow per week, which is brilliant, and he has every time like 500 likes and I don't know how many thousands of impressions, because he's refined that one thing for him to perfection. And there are other people who do like 5 posts a week or 10 posts. But I think you generally can say the more, the better. But if all the more that you do is sort of mediocre or bad, then maybe it's not such a good idea. So what I would recommend basically is to start writing and try to write stuff that can live as evergreen content. And if you see something works really nicely, you can repost it after 3 or 4 months. And over time, you will build a library of content pieces that you can recycle. So you can post more with less work because you have all this backlog of content. So it's becoming less of a burden because you can basically recycle stuff you've done that worked in the past that probably works in future. So then you can get to 5, 6, 7 times a week, which definitely is good if the content is good.
Good. We sort of debate this in our organization. Rachel, who's part of our team, posts something almost every day, and then oftentimes I'll come in and post additional things that I'm working on. And I look at somebody like Gary Vee. I'm not sure if you're familiar with who Gary Vaynerchuk, right? I don't know what he posts, but I'm guessing it's probably 4 or 5 times a day, and he's got this massive following. And if you actually sit and look at his stuff that he posts, it's almost all video. And when you think about it, he's got a shtick, right? And he mostly posts the same thing over and over again. Yeah. So, it's sort of.
I think that's the other thing, that a lot of people are afraid to basically post the same thing again and again. But it's totally fine. So I think a lot of people are making way too much of an effort to sort of come up with something completely unique and new every time. So Gary Vee, I mean, he has a team of, I think, 25 people who produce the stuff behind the scenes. But I think many of the ideas come from him, and he just sort of does the speaking, but they do the editing.
Well, and I think that, he does a lot of public speaking, and I know I haven't actually seen him speaking publicly, but you can tell by just watching what he posts that he's got at least one full-time videographer who sort of follows him around with a camera, and so they have lots and lots to work with, right? One of the oh man, I got so much stuff I want to ask you about still. One of the challenges that I'm facing a lot, and you probably have the same thing, is I get all this crap. I probably shouldn't say this, DMs that I get from people all the time. Is there anything to do about that, or?
Well,
does it work? I guess, does it work for people?
I doubt it. I don't know. In your case, I get a lot of stuff from like some countries in Asia. I don't want to name some countries, but it's like obnoxious. So when I was messaging Matt Welly from Muse to prepare our podcast conversation, he had an autoresponder message saying, "Hey, if you are a recruiter," basically he said the F word, the FO word. And on the call, he said, "Well, there was an auto-generated message. So I wasn't a recruiter, but still, I got the message because I messaged him. But he then responded, obviously. But on the call, he said he gets like 50 inquiries from recruiters every week. And so to your point, there's nothing really can do except for, apologies, write on the profile like, please, no inquiries from recruiters or whatever you don't want to do. And in my case, I'm also disconnecting from a number of people in certain countries that are just not my target market. And it helps you reach. If you're sort of focusing your network on people in countries, industries that you really want to engage with, it helps the reach of your posts.
Yeah. So the other there was a post a few weeks ago that I commented on and actually got a lot of traffic. So I give the person credit for that. But the gist of the post was stop posting pictures of dogs and yourself. And so many comments. My comment was, it's fine to say that, but it works. So I go to a lot of conferences, and very often when I go to a conference, when I'm on the way to the conference, I'll be sitting in my airplane seat, and I'll get my phone out, and I'll take a picture of me sitting in my airplane seat, usually with my headset on, and say, "Hey guys, looking forward to seeing you at Leading Age," or whatever the conference is. And it sort of bothers me, but those tend to get huge amounts of traffic. And
Hmm.
sometimes I'll post good, solid content that doesn't get half or a third or a quarter of that. Why is that?
Hmm. Well, I mean, we have to. I mean, why is that? I think the question, the answer is obvious because I mean, it's sort of like a personal thing that is easier to relate with. Um, if you were to post like only pictures of you, I'm on the way here, I'm doing this, that's probably gonna not work long term. So it's about a balance of like various things. So like the personal side, and then also professional stuff, stuff like you just said that you put a lot of work into to make it really good, insightful. Um, but yeah, I mean, we want to like we want to be entertained to a certain degree. We want to see who is the person, and my advice would be to always, and Matt, coming back to the same guy, you gotta watch the video. It's really good. Um, he does personal posts, but they always tie back to the business. There's always, and he just said it with like taking a photo of you and a plane and saying on the way to whatever conference, there's a link to your professional side. And then that's, I think, okay, because I see you as an individual, as a human, but at the same time, I also see the connection to the business. If I
Yeah.
only post like, here's a super cute dog, and you know you're going to get a lot of likes because people like dogs, but there's no connection to your business whatsoever, I think that's a wasted effort, and it's going to, in the long term, destroy your brand because if I don't know what's the connection between your dog and your business, then probably your business is not relevant to me. So
Well, and that's a great point, right? Because just because you get a lot of likes or followers, if it doesn't help your business, you have to ask yourself whether it really make. I mean, it feels good to get those
mm,
likes and posts, but does it really make a difference? I remember early on when there was a lot of lip singing going on. There was a senior living organization, a community where they did this lip sync to a Beastie Boys, and they've got, I don't know, 8 million
mm,
views of this
yeah.
on Instagram or YouTube or someplace, which is really cool, right? But I doubt that it had any impact on their business because people were watching it because they were Beastie Boys fans and I'm probably only 50 years too early for their need for senior living. Maybe helped with recruitment. I don't know. So,
Yeah, no, but great point, because in the end it really depends on your niche, your industry, what you're in. So I had a friend of mine who is specializing on IT outsourcing for the insurance industry in Germany, and outsourcing to Ukraine. Now, you can imagine the market of people that are relevant to that person is not that big. So if he gets 5 or 10 likes on his post, that's great. So he'll never be Justin Welch with like 500 likes because the market isn't just big enough. So it's really a matter of like how big is the market that you're trying to reach, and that is what you should measure against, and not like random influencers. And having a BC Boy videos probably, yeah, gets you lots of likes, but it's zero relevant to your market.
that's
And
right.
I guess in your industry, you have a pretty clear idea what a good reach is if you think in terms of people that you want to be seen by.
Yeah. Okay. I got one more question. We're a little over time here, but this is that's again really important to me, and I think it may have some relevance to other
Sure.
people. So when I first started Senior Living Foresight, very tiny presence on LinkedIn. I was using LinkedIn before then, few hundred followers at that point in time. And the website was immensely important. We had a lot of traffic to the website. We did and still do a daily email with our updated content. We found over the last 2 or 3, 4 years, a lot more of our traffic and visibility is on LinkedIn, and yet some of our very best content is on our website, and it
Mm.
doesn't show up, or we'll put a link on LinkedIn. You have thoughts about how you balance content on sort of your company web page? So not talking about the company page on LinkedIn, but company web page and LinkedIn, and how to maximize that.
Absolutely. I mean, things have changed, have massively changed. I mean, like company pages, blog posts, like 20 years ago, uh, there was no LinkedIn. There was barely any Facebook, any other things. So the way you would get found would be by people Googling and finding your webpage and going straight to the webpage, and you want to sort of like sway them with great content.
Yeah.
And things nowadays are different because people usually spend more time on LinkedIn than Googling for stuff to find something specific. So I think the webpage is still very important, but it's a sort of like it's further down the sales funnel. People find you on LinkedIn, see who you are, like your stuff, follow your posts, engage. And then when they come to a point where they want to consider what you have to offer, they come to your webpage to check out what exactly you offer, how does it work, are there any references. So talking about content on the webpage, I think it still helps to be found, but I would rather try to put the emphasis on good content on LinkedIn, which is a different style because it's shorter, it's more condensed. A way you could think about it is with LinkedIn articles or LinkedIn newsletter, which is, if you look at the SEO functionality, very similar to a web page. You can have H1, H2 headlines. You can have a, what is it called? The product description, the SEO optimized product. So you can optimize an article and a newsletter, which is basically the same thing from the point of view of SEO on LinkedIn. You can treat that as your company blog, and you probably might get more traffic having that on LinkedIn because you have more domain authority with a linkedin.com domain than with your own company page, which means you still should have a web page and a web presence. But I would think the emphasis should be more in instilling trust and building credibility by showing the whole team and maybe talking about the company history and what you have to offer and how it works in detail, stuff that you probably don't want to do on LinkedIn because it's too complicated. But sort of like they both work together. LinkedIn sits at the top of the sales funnel and the web page sits at the bottom of the sales funnel.
Perfect. Simon, great conversation way over time. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you all of you for watching. Hope to see all of you at the Foresight AI Lab in Las Vegas. Get your tickets now while they are less expensive than they will be. And with that, Simon, hang on for just a minute after we go off the air. And I really appreciate you joining me, and I can let you go off to bed or your kids or whatever.
Thank you. It was great being here, Steve.